Everyone, welcome back. Hopefully, you guys have had an awesome week. Hopefully, we did well in that test. So, I'm super excited to be with you guys again. If you've noticed, we skipped all the way ahead to the very last chapter. That means one school's almost done. We're just a few weeks away, so hang on tight. I know it's going to be a wild ride. Hopefully, not too wild. But I hope that you guys will enjoy these last few weeks, and I hope that you guys are enjoying it now, staying positive, staying encouraged, and really focusing on the goodness of God. Because God is always good. No matter what happens, God is always good. So I hope we remember that. I do want to jump right into chapter 24. This is the last frontier. Now, growing up, I always loved cowboy movies, and I'm like, I'm gonna be a cowboy one day. I'm gonna go be a pioneer, and I'm gonna go discover this new land. And I'm just gonna live out in the middle of nowhere. Well, today, if I were to do that, I would probably have to live on the Antarctica, that or the moon. Which who knows? Maybe way off in the future, someone is watching this video because I mean, why not? My videos are awesome, but they may be watching the video and say, we already live on the moon. Who knows? Maybe I'm living on the moon by the time they're watching this. Interesting. Anyway, um, I'm getting sidetracked. On page 585, we're looking at the last chapter, chapter 24, the last frontier. Now, what would amaze you is I've already talked about Antarctica and the moon. What would amaze you is we actually know more about space and the stars and the galaxy more than we know of our own ocean. So this chapter we're going to first talk about Antarctica that we may not know a lot about. Is there any point in knowing about Antarctica? But then we're also going to talk about the ocean as well. So let's dive in. Yes, pun intended. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but we are curious people, right? As soon as you hear voices outside, it's like, who's outside? What are they talking about? Are they talking about me? Is it interesting? Is someone in trouble? Like all of a sudden, I don't know if your mind does that, but my mind does, right? Or if I hear honking, I'm like, okay, who's outside? What's going on? Or if I hear sirens, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? I need to find out, right? It's like it has nothing to do with us, but we're just so curious. We're made to be curious. Now, here's what I stop and pause and get convicted about, if you will, is how curious are we about God? You know, how interested are we in finding out things about God? How curious are we about his nature, about him as a being? How curious are we? So God has made us curious, and it's pretty amazing. Once we actually find out something, we're gonna find something to be curious. You know, again, right? We hear the people talking outside, and we see, oh, it's just them. But then we're curious, what are they talking about? So we try and figure out. By the way, they're talking. Is it happy? Is it sad? You know, it's weird. I know we all do it. Maybe it's just me, but we're curious. So we've we've really delved from our own world on the continents to space and the ocean. So we're going to take a look at those. First one is Antarctica. I'm getting cold already. Think about it. Um, just looking at the ice makes me cold. So Antarctica is known as the bottom of the world. I don't know if that's a good thing. It doesn't really sound like a good thing, but the bottom of the world is Antarctica. We all know Antarctica, the last continent, the white continent that you see on the map. It's all white, meaning ice. But it's very it's very coveted amongst the nations of the world, which is pretty surprising. And we just think it's full of ice. And in fact, your book mentions the icebergs that come from Antarctica and form these glaciers that we see, and we see it in the north as well. But I want you to notice the picture on 585 of the iceberg. My mind always goes to, excuse me, the Titanic and how it got hit. It's kind of nice because you see a boat next to the iceberg, so you see how giant these things are. Well, um, I do want to reference the map on 586. You'll notice we're going to talk about some of the geographical locations. You will notice there's three oceans that run around Antarctica, which is the Pacific or the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Indian Ocean. And what's kind of interesting is we we um we I'm not a scientist, but some scientists have said that these oceans, the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Indian, whenever they come together, they actually form their own ocean, which they call the Southern Ocean. Now, it's not very readily accepted in the scientific community, so that's why we have not memorized that as an ocean. But there are some scientists that believe that it is. Well, anyway, if you do travel these oceans, you're going to run into a lot of ice flows. These are just ice pieces that are floating through the water. In fact, on page 585, you'll see a boat going through these ice flows. Now, um, through the ice flow, the open water that is between the flow is called the lead. And this is what allows the boats to go through. So you have the ice flows and the leads allow scientists to go down. We're going to talk about some scientists that will go down. But this is what I was mentioning with the Southern Ocean. This is the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Indian coming together that they are calling, the IHO is calling its own ocean. Some accept it, some do not. Of course, your attention already goes to the penguins, I know. And on 587, we'll read about the penguins. Kind of interesting that there's three types. Notice the difference between what you see in your book, 587, and what you see on the PowerPoint. There's three different types that live on Antarctica. You have the first one, the emperor, which is what you see in the book. You also have the Adele, and then you also, the third one is the Ginto. So, um, my favorite part of the zoo is the penguins. I don't know why, but they're so fun to watch, a lot of energy, and I would love to actually see them in their natural habitat on Antarctica. That would be pretty cool. But this is where most of them live. But they don't live all throughout Antarctica because there's a specific spot that they could never live. And we're going to look at that in a little bit. But whenever we're talking about Antarctica, we're actually splitting it in two. Now, what divides it is the Trans-Antarctic Mountains. And on the map on 586, you can see it running along the edge of Antarctica, kind of right in the middle, if you will, of Antarctica. Um, so this is what divides it from east to west, and this main focus will be East Antarctica. These are the high plateaus, a lot of ice. This is very famous for the weather conditions that are there. Again, we're talking East Antarctica. These cyclonic storms essentially are like tornadoes that they'll just blow around and around and around and around from east to west and continue, and there's nothing there to stop it. So that's a pretty big phenomenon that is fun to see. Another one is the mountains that are formed. In fact, if you find the trans Antarctic mountains, then you will see on the map on 586 how the water kind of comes in. Notice those two seas. You'll see the Ross Sea at the very bottom, and then you'll see the Weldon Sea at the very top. These two are going to cut it into what the notes say, a pair. I don't know about you, but I can't really see a pair. Maybe you could see it. I really can't. But nevertheless, we'll see the two seas, the Weldon Sea and the Ross Sea, very important. Now, from these, many of these glaciers, like you see pictured here on the slides, will run off into the seas. From this, they'll form ice shelves that are essentially just like you would think of a shelf with stair-stepping up. Same thing with the glaciers that fall into the seas. Now, one you'll see there. Oops, too far. So we've already mentioned the Trans-Antarctic Mountain, but you'll see several mountains or look like several high mountains called the Nunatak. And these are going to be the very rocky, very edgy mountains that go right into the sea that we'll get the ice shelves from. So this will be scattered throughout the continent, and if you were to go there, you would see very many. Um, but if you were to go there, you would probably just be a scientist because really there's no other purpose to go. But it would surprise you how many people actually want to go there. We're going to talk about this picture that you see here, the settlement. But um, this is the focus of what man wants from Antarctica. And this is the McMurdo Station, which is the largest one in Antarctica. We'll call it a settlement. It's not a town. No one's going to live there. You're not going to have shops. But this is the settlement essentially to study the island. Now, this guy that you see here, we're going to mention a lot of guys. You can see more pictures on 587. I just like looking at the pictures personally. 587, you can see some of the settlement. 588, you can see quite a bit of the people. This guy is not mentioned on there. You will see Ross from where the Ross Sea was made. And what's sad is you'll never see an American mentioned there. I don't know what that means. But there will be Americans that go down. Unfortunately, none really make a name for themselves. But Bull will be the first man to actually set foot on the continent. Now, this man that you see pictured here is not Bull. Okay, Bull was Norwegian. Notice the year 1895 is when we actually set foot. It's not the first time it's discovered. In fact, there'll be a lot of arguments on who was the first to discover, but many people will go back to the 1820s. Even back James Cook being the first one in 73 that will discover the continent. But in 1991, we get the first official planting of the flag on the continent, specifically on the South Pole. Now, we can't do this on the North Pole because the North Pole is in the ocean, but since Antarctica is this landmass of ice, we're able to do this. Ronald Armstrong is the first man to go to the South Pole. Kind of interesting. Scott, he's going to attempt to go back to the South Pole, be the first Englishman to, but he's not going to make it. But Byrd is going to skip this guy that you see here. He's going to say, you know what, that's too cold for me. I'm not about that life. But I would like to see the interior of it. In fact, the interior can get up to negative 94 degrees. That's insane. 94 degrees is hot to begin with, but negative 94, talk about cold. So he's able to see things that we as humans probably would not be able to see on our own. So Byrd is going to make big discoveries with that. I've already said with that settlement that many of the countries will want to come to Antarctica. And we've established this treaty that says, listen, whatever you guys find, you got to share with us. We're not counting countries down here. Yes, it will help your country. Why do they want to study this? Because they believe that there are minerals under the ice that are able to help us, and we're able to get those minerals. So we've all agreed, all the foreign powers that have gone to Antarctica have all established this treaty that says, listen, whatever you find, we're going to share with each other. Now, one thing that they do find is a hole in the ozone layer that gets many people worked up about climate change or about global warming. Now, the idea is if global warming were to happen, then they're concerned about the ice, because if the ice melts, then the water levels will raise, and most of your islands will go underwater, including your major cities that are port cities. But we don't see that happening. But this is one thing that they're studying down in the Antarctic area. So we're going to look more about the oceans. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it kind of whets your appetite for the rest of the chapter.